Every moment of your life, you are telling yourself a story about who you are, what's possible, and what you deserve. That story doesn't come from your circumstances, it comes from your state, emotional state, physical state, mental state. You can have the tools, the talent, and even the opportunity, but if you're in a lousy state, you'll tell yourself a story of defeat, a story that says, I'm not enough, it's too late, or I'll never change. But let me tell you something powerful. Your state is not a prison, it's a choice. It's chemistry, it's motion, it's focus. You can change your state in a heartbeat, and when you do, your story transforms with it. That's the real power. That's how billionaires think, not just in terms of money, but in terms of influence, vision, resilience. They master their state because they know the story follows think about. Have you ever had a day where everything was technically fine? Bills paid, relationships solid, but you just felt off. Suddenly your mind starts searching for problems. You start telling yourself, maybe I'm falling behind. Maybe I'm not as fulfilled as I thought. That's not truth. That's state pollution. Now flip it. Think of a moment when you were alive with energy. Maybe you just crushed a workout or received amazing news, and suddenly even your biggest challenge felt like a stepping stone. Same life, different state, radically different story. This isn't just positive thinking. This is biochemistry. When you breathe deeper, when you move your body with intensity, when you focus on what you can control, your nervous system shifts. You prime your mind to tell a different story, one of power, one of progress, one of momentum. And here's the kicker. High performers don't wait for the right state to show up. They create it. They build rituals. They condition their nervous system. They train their focus like a muscle. When fear hits, they don't suppress it. They move through it because they've trained themselves to associate fear not with paralysis, but with fuel. You are not your negative emotions. You are the creator of them. And if you created them, you can override them. But you have to catch the moment. You have to say, right now I'm shifting. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. That's when transformation begins, not with more information, but with a decision to change your state. Every story you live out is built on the emotional state you allow. You want to change your life? Don't start with your circumstances, start with your energy. Get up, move, shout, smile, breathe. Not because it's fake, but because you're activating the parts of you that are built to lead, to conquer, to rise. You've just been asleep to it. Wake it up. You want to live like a billionaire of emotion, of purpose, of impact? Then you train your state like a warrior trains for battle. Because the world will throw storms at you, but if your state is unshakable, your story will be unstoppable. And when your story is unstoppable, so are you. You ever find yourself stuck in a loop? The same thought, the same fear, the same frustration playing over and over in your mind like a broken record? That's not you thinking. That's a pattern. It's your nervous system doing what it's been conditioned to do. And here's the truth most people never hear. You are not your thoughts. You are the director behind them. You can interrupt the pattern, snap the loop, and reclaim your mind, but it doesn't happen by hoping it goes away. It happens when you break the pattern on purpose. Negative emotions thrive in repetition. The more you dwell, the deeper the groove becomes in your mind. It's like carving a trail in a field. Walk it once, no big deal. Walk it every day, now it's a path. Walk it for years, now it's a trench. And when that trench gets deep, it can feel like there's no way out. But that's just because no one ever told you that you can jump out of it instantly. If you change your approach, you want to kill anxiety in the moment? Move your body. Seriously. Change your posture. Shake your arms out. Scream if you have to. The nervous system doesn't care about being polite. It cares about signals. And if you send it the same signal over and over, stillness, tension, shallow breath, it assumes there's danger. But the moment you change that input, the pattern starts to crack. And when it cracks, you take back control. Here's what most people do. They try to fix their negative thoughts with more thoughts. They try to think their way out. But if you try to think your way out of a state you felt your way into, you're using the wrong tool. You can't solve an emotional loop with logic. You solve it with a break. And that break doesn't have to be complicated. It can be physical movement. It can be a deep, intentional breath. It can be laughter, a cold shower, blasting music and dancing like a maniac. What matters is that it interrupts the loop and tells your brain, we're not doing this anymore. You ever watch someone spiral? Maybe you've even caught yourself doing it. And all it would have taken to stop it was one shift, one person saying, hey, snap out of it. One moment of disruption. You don't need someone else to do that for you. You can be that interrupter. You can be the one who stands up in the middle of the breakdown and says, this ends now. The moment you interrupt the pattern, you create space to choose a new response, a new meaning, a new direction. And that space, that's where power lives. That's where freedom begins. You don't have to earn it. You just have to decide to use it. This is what high performers, leaders, creators, warriors do, not because they're superhuman, but because they've learned to recognize when the pattern is lying to them. And instead of giving in, they interrupt, they do it fast, they do it decisively, and they do it over and over until their nervous system learns, we don't go down that road anymore. So next time you feel the old emotions creeping in, the fear, the doubt, the anger, don't negotiate with them. Don't analyze them. Break them. Interrupt them. Then redirect. Because you're not just here to survive your thoughts. You're here to command them. That's the edge. That's the shift. And that's how you reclaim your power in a moment. What you believe you are, deep down in your bones, determines every decision you make, every emotion you feel, and every outcome you create. Identity isn't just some abstract concept. It's the root system of your entire life. You'll never consistently act in a way that conflicts with the person you believe yourself to be. So if you see yourself as someone who always struggles, who always falls short, who's always trying to get better, then no matter what you achieve temporarily, your nervous system will drag you back to that baseline. That's why real change doesn't start with habits. It starts with identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Because identity is the thermostat of performance. You might turn up the heat with some motivation, a new morning routine, a seminar, or a book. But if your internal identity setting is still dialed to I'm not enough, the moment life gets hard, that thermostat kicks in and cools everything back down. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system is wired to stay congruent with who you think you are. Change that, and everything else follows. This is why some people can have all the talent in the world, but never fulfill it. Because deep inside, they still believe they're average. They still think they're stuck, but there are others who came from nothing with no education, no money, no advantage, but they decided who they were and they backed it up with action, certainty, and repetition until that identity became unshakable. That's the power of identity. And you don't have to wait for some breakthrough moment to shift it. You can decide now. Your identity is not fixed. It's not inherited. It's not based on your past. It's a pattern, a set of beliefs you've rehearsed so many times, you forgot you were the one who wrote them. So if you're going to act like a billionaire, not in wealth, but in spirit, in impact, in how you face life, then you've got to stop identifying with your limitations and start identifying with your possibilities. You've got to say, I am the kind of person who creates, who leads, who serves, who finishes what they start. And then you prove it to yourself every day with action. It's not about faking it. It's about conditioning it. Every time you show up with intensity, with courage, with discipline, you're casting a vote for that new identity. And enough of those votes over time rewires how you see yourself. You become someone who doesn't just hope for greatness, you expect it. Because you've aligned with it from the inside out. Expectations without flexibility are a trap. They don't motivate you, they enslave you. And the worst part, they block out the very thing that can set you free. Appreciation. Appreciation isn't a technique. It's not some fluffy feel-good mantra. It's the most powerful emotional weapon you have to kill suffering in an instant. You cannot feel fear, anger, or sadness while being deeply, truly grateful. Assessment. It's neurologically impossible when you appreciate something fully, when you shift from why isn't it perfect to what's already a gift, your whole state changes. And when your state changes, your life changes. The truth is, most people aren't unhappy because life is hard. They're unhappy because life didn't match their picture of how it should be. They thought their relationship should be more romantic. Their job should be more fulfilling. Their body should look different. Their bank account should be bigger by now. But that word should is a setup. It creates tension between what is and what you think ought to be. And if you live in that gap too long, it turns into stress, frustration, and depression. But here's the breakthrough. You can trade those expectations. You can let go of that rigid picture and replace it with appreciation. Not because you're settling, but because you're shifting to a more powerful place. From that place, you're not weakened by disappointment. You're fueled by perspective. You stop obsessing over what's missing and start leveraging what's already there. Think about this. Right now, there are people in the world praying for the life you're living. They would give anything to have your challenges. Your worst day is someone else's dream. And that's not guilt, that's perspective. When you wake up to the blessings already around you, you stop chasing happiness and start living it. Appreciation wakes up the soul. It reconnects you to what matters. It gives you access to joy, even in the middle of pain. People wait for appreciation to show up like it's something that happens after success. But the most fulfilled people on earth, the ones who have real peace, real power, they don't wait. They practice appreciation. They train themselves to find the beauty, the lesson, the humor, even in chaos. They know that the moment you feel grateful, you become rich instantly, because gratitude is wealth, it's abundance, it's love, and it's always available if you choose to see it. So the next time life doesn't meet your expectations, stop, breathe, interrupt the pattern, and ask, what can I appreciate right now? Not in some fake, forced way, but really look at your life. Your body is breathing without your help. Your mind is capable of transformation. You have the power to speak, to move, to grow, to love. You're alive. And that is the rarest miracle of all. Expectation is a prison. Appreciation is freedom. And the beautiful part, you hold the key. Every single day, you get to choose. Will I suffer because life didn't go my way, or will I rise because I see what's already good? One leads to burnout, the other leads to power. And that choice, that single shift, can turn a moment of pain into a lifetime of purpose. And life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. But that only becomes true when we take control of the one thing no one can ever take away, the meaning we assign to what happens. You want to change your life? Change what things mean to you. That's the secret. Because meaning is the invisible force that shapes your emotions, your decisions, your identity. The same event can break one person and build another. The difference isn't the event, it's the meaning. Every single day you are making unconscious choices about what things mean. Someone doesn't call you back. Does that mean you're unimportant? Or does it mean they're overwhelmed with it, you miss a target? Does that mean you're a failure? You know? Or does it mean you're in the middle of growing stronger? The meaning you choose instantly creates an emotional response. And that emotion drives your action. That action creates your outcome. And that outcome reinforces your identity. It all starts with meaning. Most people think their feelings are a result of their circumstances. But that's a lie. Your feelings are the result of your interpretation of those circumstances. And that's good news. Because it means you're not a victim of life. You're the author of it. You get to decide what your story means. You get to decide whether a setback is the end or the beginning. You get to decide if pain is punishment or preparation. That's the ultimate leverage. You see, pain is inevitable. It's part of growth. It's part of life. But suffering is the result of believing that pain is permanent, personal, or pointless. And that's where meaning becomes everything. If you believe your struggle is meaningless, you'll break. If you believe your pain has purpose, you'll rise. One belief leads to despair. The other creates resilience. So how do you master meaning? You stop reacting and start deciding. You ask better questions. Instead of why is this happening to me, ask what can this teach me? Instead of what did I lose, ask what am I gaining? Even in your darkest moments, there is always a lesson, always a new level of strength, always something inside you that's waking up. But you have to choose to see it. Think about the most powerful people in history, the ones who led through crisis, who changed the world. They all had pain. They all had trauma. But what made them extraordinary wasn't the absence of pain. It was how they interpreted it. They gave it meaning. They turned heartbreak into empathy, rejection into fuel, failure into mastery. They didn't wait for life to be easy. They made life meaningful. That's what it means to act like a billionaire. Not in wealth, but in emotional ownership. Billionaires of the soul don't wait for the world to hand them happiness. They assign meaning that empowers them. They turn every challenge into a reason to rise. And when you live from that place, life becomes a playground, not a prison. You stop fearing struggle and start embracing the stretch. Because you know, nothing has any meaning except the meaning you give it. So next time you face a storm, don't ask to be spared, ask to be sharpened. Look at it, feel it, and decide right then what it will mean for you. Will it harden your heart or will it open it? Will it make you bitter or will it make you unbreakable? The choice is always yours. Master that choice, and you'll just master the moment. You master your entire life. Look around you. Who are you spending your time with? What voices are you allowing into your life? What kind of energy are you breathing in every single day? Because whether you realize it or not, your environment is shaping you. Your thoughts, your emotions, your standards, they're all being influenced by the people you're around. It's not a cliche. It's not motivational fluff. It's physics. It's momentum. And it's unavoidable because proximity is power. Human beings are wired for connection, for modeling, for alignment. You get around people who think big, who act with courage, who demand more from life, and guess what happens? You start expanding till your vision stretches. Your standards rise. You start believing things are possible that once felt unreachable, not because someone gave you permission, but because you saw it, you felt it, and you absorbed it. That's the power of proximity. And the opposite is just as true. You stay around people who settle, who complain, who blame the world, who live in fear. And slowly, quietly, you start lowering your standards just to fit in. Not because you believe what they believe, but because you're around it. And what you're around, over time, you start to tolerate. And what you tolerate, you eventually become. You can't play a high-level game in a low-energy environment. That's like trying to sprint through quicksand. Now, this doesn't mean you cut people out cold. It means you get intentional. You decide who gets your full energy and who gets limited access. You protect your focus like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. Your future, your growth, your purpose. It's all influenced by what surrounds you. Just like a plant grows stronger in the right soil, you grow faster in the right circle. You want to be more disciplined? Get around people who don't talk about discipline. They live it. You want to think bigger? Get in rooms that scare you a little. Rooms where you're not the smartest person, not the most successful, not the most driven. That's where the stretch happens. That's where you stop being the big fish in a small pond and start being the one. Who rises because you're swimming with giants? You ever notice how contagious energy is? One conversation with the right person can light you up for days. One dinner, one event, one voice can crack something open inside you that's been asleep for years. That's not an accident. That's proximity doing its work. That's the download. The transfer of mindset, belief, courage. And you don't even have to talk about it. Just being near someone who lives at a higher standard causes you to self-correct. You start asking more from yourself because you've seen what's possible. And that's what this is really about. Possibility. Proximity gives you a front row seat to a better version of life. It breaks your old limits. It shows you what you can be. But you've got to seek it. You've got to go find that environment. You don't stumble into greatness. You choose to be around it. And then you commit to growing into it. So take a hard look at your circle.